Welcome. Thank you for coming to our talk. So we're really excited to share with you our journey so far. And you maybe are wondering what's that name over there. We innovate. So what we do, we call it We Innovate because we believe what we do is actually an accelerator for innovation and knowledge sharing. So let me just start off with, we're going to tell you a little bit of a story. So this is our story, how we actually ended up doing what we're doing. And disclaimer here, this is not a recipe. So what we are doing is contextualized. It's within our own context. It's not a recipe, but it doesn't mean that you cannot get inspired or take out ideas for yourself to apply in your own context. And some of the solutions we came up with, they're also contextualized. But maybe in your context, you just need to think about a different part of your organization or the way that you do things where you need to shift the solution around a little bit to come to similar things. So back to our context. So what are we doing? What's our context? We started on this journey about 4 years ago, and back then our company was called GfK. And I'm saying back then because we got acquired by a company called NIQ or Nielsen IQ just recently. And what we do, we are an international company. We have a lot of experience in market research, namely within GfK, 90 years of experience. So it's a pretty well-known established company for a long time in the market. And as you can imagine, we are also having quite of a scale. So we used to be 8,000 employees worldwide, and now 600 in tech, and now we are 40,000 with about 3,000 in tech. And big data processing in market research is the domain that we're in. And we are safe, but we are still agile. So this is quite important because one of those issues that we solve, we actually use this framework in order to solve an issue, which is positive. But you can use any other way to organize yourself and find solutions, but that's our context. All right, so moving on to the story. Like every good story, it started with COVID, right? So 4 years ago, we had this amazing transformation that was called COVID-19, and we were one day to the next bound to the home office. And if you can remember, we learned a lot of lessons. We learned how to prepare for a Zoom call. We learned useful things. And if you can think back to this time about your home office, like your first home office, I want you to picture that. Mine looked something like that. It was a little bit worse maybe because it was in a windowless room. This was not exactly my office, but I didn't photograph it. I didn't think it was important, but no, it was kind of like that. The chair was the same, maybe less pizza boxes and a few more toys, but you get the idea. And in this reality, we tried to work, we tried our best. And what we ended up doing usually is this, like we had this on our screen. So we are sitting in a Teams call, trying to have a conversation. So this particular one was between me, a senior engineer, Victor, and another engineer who was called Stanislav. So both of them are architects. Victor was our more senior architect, and Stanislav was getting into the role, let's say. At that point, we were also doing some transformation, so we were talking a lot about roles. Okay, now we are supposed to be servant leaders. People need to be able to coach and teach others, right? So we need to have some other behaviors, other roles. We were talking about those roles, and one of those roles you need to do is to be a teacher, to be a trainer, to train others how to do things, to pass on your knowledge, right? And what Stanislav was saying, hey, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I don't know how to pass on my knowledge on a call where I don't see the people, I only see avatars or just letters. And I have no idea if anyone is listening on the other side. I don't know what people are actually perceiving. So how do I do this? I cannot do exercises in this environment. And both me and Victor were like, hey, maybe we can help. We actually have some ideas of how to overcome this. And this is how it all started back then, 4 years ago. It's zooming out a little bit because, of course, this was just a trigger. But when we zoom out, let's start to think, okay, why were we even having this conversation in the first place? Like, why would you care about training? We are working, we are developing stuff. Why should we train? Why should we be learning? All right, we are a company doing market research, and we are at this scale. We're kind of global leaders in what we do. And on one hand, there is probably a lot of knowledge you can bring in through external expertise, a lot of useful stuff that you can learn at conferences, etc. This is great. But pair that up with your own context in your own domain. So what do you actually learn on the job? This is when it actually starts to get interesting. And at our company, you can realize, okay, it's not like we can hire someone external to teach us about our own domain. So we need to own this. We need to own the actual spread of knowledge within our company. And why do we need to own it in the end? Why do we need a company that is able to learn and spread the knowledge? Does anyone have an idea? Yeah? Exactly, stay relevant, improve. Anything else? Yeah. Better products? Yes. Usability? All right. Automate? Yeah, yeah.
Don't want to have to reinvent the wheel each time you want to be able to build on what you've already known.
Exactly, don't reinvent the wheel. Right, make decisions. So a big thing that we'd like to also talk about is, all right, when you have knowledge, when you know about things, when you learn, you're actually more able to make decisions, right? So this is one thing actually we want to talk about. So we have to make decisions. And in order to move fast, we want to make decisions fast. So if we want to move fast, we need to be able to make those decisions rather fast, right? So we are here in the end in the Fast Flow conference, so we might be interested in making decisions fast, moving fast. So, all right, the realization here is that we need to make decisions, and for that we need knowledge. So how did we actually start creating, how did we actually start in the past making decisions? Usually we would delegate decision-making into an ivory tower-like structure, experts who know best what to do in certain situations. This kind of works if you don't want to move fast. So if you want to move fast, you might actually want to break those because you will always be bottlenecked, right? So if you have a ivory tower structure, you won't be able to move very fast. So we like to break them. And to break them, we need to look at how knowledge is propagated. And let's take a look at some of our situations that we experience. So usually, like we said before, learning kind of happens in those silos. So we are siloed within different teams. Siloed means we are separated. So it's very hard for someone in team 2 to know that maybe there is someone in team 1 who would be a Python expert, or someone in team 1 as well, it's going to be a novice. So this is one thing. It starts to get interesting when you think about, okay, what about this domain knowledge? So it's not just about the technical knowledge, but about the problems that are very interesting in your own domain. For example, it's hard to know that someone in some team somewhere in my organization is this expert in processing of CSV files at scale in Python. Like, how do I know this? Okay, so this is one big issue that we experience. Pair that with another issue that we had earlier. But I'm not a professional trainer. Like, how am I going to pass on my knowledge if I'm not a professional trainer? I'm a developer. Please leave me alone. Or the other one, I don't have time. please, I need to deliver, I need to deliver. I don't have time to learn or pass on knowledge, right? So it's quite obvious that knowledge isn't flowing so well. All right, so this idea here that we have those very highly specialized people in our teams is very similar to the ivory tower before for decision making. So it's like an ivory tower for knowledge, but it's even invisible because it's sitting somewhere within those silos. So we need to we have even more reasons to break it. All right? Okay, so how do you break this? We take a look at learning. Again, learning, even though it's hard, it happens. So what can we learn from the way that the company was learning, basically? Let's take a look. What kind of lessons can we get? So again, learning happens in silos, in those teams. So one situation we could have is that we could have one and the same trainer doing the same training with different teams, maybe at different times, not leveraging on the fact that they might actually profit from going to the same learning session. All right, second thing is two trainers doing the same training with different teams, maybe at the same time, having no idea about that, having no opportunity to align, to collaborate, and build on what they know. And the third thing is, what about this person over there who is an expert in a niche topic where he would love to have some support? So he would love to be able to train someone else that would be able then to give a training to another group of people so that we can grow the pool of trainers. So this would be another thing we'd like to do. Okay. Now, how do we actually, in the end, ended up solving this thing? How did we actually learn from our environment to solve things? And we boiled it down to two main things. So two main ingredients that made up for our success in the end. First one is the community decides. So we created a space where the community can come together and on one hand share learning needs. I want to learn about this and that. And on the other hand, offer what they know to share with others. They wanted, so they can actually come together and share knowledge on the same space. So it's visible for everyone, it's within the whole community, and the whole community decides what topics are actually interesting. So there is no central authority telling everybody, this is what you need to be learning today, this is going to be coming in 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever. So there is no one deciding on the topics but the community. So everyone in the company is a part of that community, so everybody has a voice, but no one can decide but the community. So this was one first most important thing. And the second important thing is we realized that what we are doing there is a form of an enabling team. So, and in this particular context, we were enabling the enablers. So we were basically helping people out and training them, giving them support in how to break down complex topics, etc. So we can come together and basically create this transferable knowledge. And this quote here is from Michael Plutz from a talk that he did on architecture teams as enabling teams. So it kind of very well goes in line with what he was saying about enabling the enablers. So these people need to actually learn new things, how to be coaches, how to be trainers, how to be passing on knowledge, right? So these are the main ingredients we have. And by the way, this picture here was made by Berrin's mother. So congratulations on that one. And this also is why we think it's, when it actually started to make sense is when we realized that we read about team topologies and we realized we are actually really an enabling team. What we are doing is we are enabling others. So this really started to click when we got into the topic of team topology. So this is why we decided in the end that we're going to be a real team. Berrin is going to say a little more about that in a second. And this all boils down to the ideas of Dave Snowden, that in order for people to to do something that is good, it makes sense to reduce the energy cost of it. So make it easy, enable them, make it easy for them to do it. And a little more now by Berrin. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. Okay. So maybe now let's examine the community-driven approach and the enabling team. We, as the enabling team, we are the main drivers and the powers of this community-driven learning event. So what we are doing, and first of all, what is this? It is an event for the community, which means that it is a complete collaboration and contribution from all our colleagues within the company. And how do we organize it? Actually, as we said before, we are doing SAFE. And within this SAFE framework, we have 4 sprints, business sprints within each PI product increment. And at the end of the first sprint, we have the IP sprint, in which we started implementing our community-driven learning events. So how did we do this? We used this SAFE frameworks, this structure of the sprints within the same framework. And we started doing the community-driven learning events during the IP sprint by just giving the people a kind of space, a safe space to collaborate and communicate together and exchange their knowledge. And maybe we can look at some highlights of this event. First of all, it's a 2-day event within each PI during the IP sprints. And there are lots of workshops, interactive talks, and learning events during those 2 days. And also, as we said, it is remote because we started after the COVID just started. And we are a global firm, lots of colleagues all around the world. And the main idea and purpose of this event is to nurture the leadership skills of our colleagues. So while maybe exchanging knowledge together and learning from each other, they can also nurture their leadership skills. And as we said, it is community-driven. Why are we keep saying this? Because the learning sessions, those event is given by our colleagues for our colleagues. We are not getting any support from outside the company for these learning events. And we have a dedicated enabling team for this event to support, to plan, and get together with the other people to arrange it, organize it. Within this enabling team, we have agile coaches and community managers who are supporting. The agile coaches have good knowledge of this, how to train the people, how to support the people to become trainers. That's how we are supporting our colleagues. So, as we said, it is community-driven, and we couldn't be until now talk about how we are organizing and how is it community-driven. Let's maybe start looking at some of the phases what we are planning in each PI. First of all, we have topic proposals, and as Sveti said before, the community decides. Like, the community proposes their topics, everyone within the company, and after the topic proposals, we have this voting phase, which is also community-driven, which means that community decides which topic should be planned for the next session. So we are not making something mandatory, so we are giving the room for everyone to vote their topics so that we can, in the end, start scheduling those topics for the next event. After the scheduling happens, we have this registration phase, so we ask everyone within the company to register for the topics, and then we have those 2 days event after registration, and there comes also the other community-driven networking, the recap. We get, for each session, for each event, a kind of feedback from our colleagues, like from our audiences, the attendees. How did they perceive? I mean, did they like the event? Are there any gaps that we have to fill in or any improvements needed? So those were the stuff that we are doing. As you said, maybe we are doing lots of many things, but we have also other stuff that we are doing to make this event happening. First of all, as the enabling team, we support and evolve the events. So how are we doing this? We have two main focus areas. We can maybe call it like a kind of main ingredients for the success of this event. And the first one is to reduce the overall effort. We upskill the people to become trainers. So how do we do this? First of all, we start maybe getting in contact with the trainers. We try to give them kind of support about how they can prepare for their sessions. And we give also support on how to get engagement with their audience, how to understand their needs, and if there are any problems occurring during the sessions, how to handle those sessions, how to handle those stuff during the sessions. And the second one is we elevate knowledge sharing to make this event to become the first-class citizenship style. And how do we do this? For that, we have some stuff like maybe we try to make this event more shiny and desirable by our colleagues that they would like to become trainers. So for that, we implemented some kind of small stuff like awards, for instance, within the event. We give away some awards yearly, each year, annually. And these are some kind of small tokens for the people, for our trainers especially, so that they can feel pride and success for their achievements. And we are doing a kind of keynote sessions in one of the sessions with one of the events. And we also invite our leadership, senior leadership, to give some kind of talks and just also showcase that this event is successful. Also from their perspective, this is also very important for us to getting the buy-in from the leadership. And those keynotes by senior leadership, as we said, that we give each event, during each event in the first sessions, a 20-minute keynote, which the leadership gives this 20-minute keynote to the audience. It's all about the importance of learning. The topic is about the learning, and also for appraisal for the trainers that they are doing those sessions, they are prepared for these sessions. This is also very important for us that the senior leadership is also involved within our community-driven learning events. We also have badges. We started implementing this for the trainers. It is for them to share on the social media to give the highlights of this session to everyone. The other one is the incentive for the maybe annual performance targets, but this where it gets a bit tricky. We normally do not tell these people to just add those sessions to your annual performance targets, but if the people are doing this, so we don't say don't do it, but we cannot force people to include such sessions for their annual performance targets, because this event should be free for everyone. It should be not mandatory. So this is something that you have to think twice or 4 times. And in the end, we are a team. We are a team. We have a vision and mission, and we have a backlog of tasks that we work on to improve our events. And also the improvement is so viable for us. As we get feedback from our audiences, we try to improve us each and every time during each event. And some learnings we have until this time, of course, I mean, it is not that easy to plan such events. First of all, during the course of the time, we thought that having a stable team is way better than a rotating one for the stability, for the focus of the event. And also having communication channels to communicate with each other also, not within the teams, also with the leadership. And as we said, it is not with a snap, so we needed some time to organize, to evolve this event. So it is important that the people are aware of this event and utilize this event. And also, as the feedback mechanism happens, we also get the feedback from our colleagues to improve the events every time. Yeah, and as we have not so much time, so we can only say that in the end, what we have achieved that we've talked about breaking down those ivory towers. So we think that with knowledge exchange and this knowledge flow, faster knowledge flow within the company, we think that we have achieved this and we have broken those ivory towers. Okay, this is who we are. Other than me and Sveti, we have Priscilla here, and we have Olena, Shirin, and Catherine, who are supporting this event. And I think with that, we are complete. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great. We've got about 3 minutes. We've got time for maybe 2 questions if people have questions.
Thank you very much, ladies. A question for me, because I'm looking at replicating something similar, is how long did it take you from start to finish? Because see, COVID was, what, 2020, 2021?
You mean like introducing something like that?
Yeah, and now feeling like you've achieved something that works instead of having to keep pushing.
Yeah, so basically this is what we were talking about as when you said, hey, it takes time. So it took about a year until I noticed that people were in conversations mentioning, hey, let's do a session. Let's do a session without us actively marketing that there is this event, you can do this in this event, there's this space that we have. So you have to actively market, you have to tell it through multiple channels that this event exists. So you have to take your time. It doesn't happen like you have this curve when there is like the hype curve. So in the beginning, everybody is excited. And then by the second event, there is like a peak. And then, oops, nobody wants to do it again. So this is where the work actually starts into like, hey, what are the blockers? What are people actually, why are people not doing it? Let's take a look, how can we make it easier? This is where the real work starts. And you will need to dig in instead of giving up. That's a big lesson.
It sounds great. One thing I was interested in, you said you gave support to people on like how to teach, and I think that's something I've seen people struggle with. If you know loads, what advice do you have for people to make it useful for someone who knows nothing about it? How do you make a lesson useful? So
how do we make a lesson useful?
If someone knows a lot about something that they've never taught before.
Yeah. So this is interesting. It really depends on the situation. So we first need to find out about it, that somebody is interested and doesn't, because this is not something that people readily talk about. Now, I don't know how to do knowledge trade. Yeah, they would tell you this when you kind of have a relationship with them. This is why it's actually quite good to have agile coaches there, because they usually have quite a lot of relationships around the place. And we try to leverage our networks in order to first become approachable. Like we are quite approachable with us. We also advertise, hey, we can do this. We do learning sessions ourselves. We do trainers for everybody so that everybody sees, hey, there is people you can go to who can help you. So we do these small things.